This is a Global Skills Podcast, conversations that shape the future of work and learning. We're exploring how we close the skills gap and build a future where everyone has the chance to thrive. From education to business, connecting people, ideas, and opportunities that drive change. It's about collaboration, curiosity, and creating real impact today. Because every skill learned brings us one step closer to a more inclusive world. The Global Skills Podcast, where learning and opportunity come together. Nathan, thank you so much for joining the Global Skills Podcast. Pleasure to have you on board.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
I'm excited about this interview, and I tell you why. And it's no offense to industry leaders from tech and finance and manufacturing, but I've always been intrigued about hospitality and what's on the other side of the door when it comes to a luxury brand, how they recruit, how they develop. So really happy to have you here. But before we get into all of that, I'd love to know a little bit about you and your journey to ending up in the role that you're in right now of leading talent acquisition for a phenomenal brand.
Yeah, I mean, my role, it's a little bit of a different one. It's not an expected journey. So I was never an academic at school. I think I was a D student at best. And so university and college probably was never going to be something for me, but I decided the only thing I was actually very good at was cooking, because I used to cook for my brothers, even a meal every night. So I decided I'll go to culinary school, learn how to be a chef, because Gordon Ramsay was on TV and Jamie Oliver back in the early noughties, and I thought they were brilliant. It's like rock stars in a kitchen screaming, shouting, and then they'll go to the pub afterwards. It all looked amazing. So I did 3 years at my local college, at Farnborough Tech College down in Hampshire, and very luckily or coincidentally, the Four Seasons Hotel opened a hotel in Hampshire about 3 or 4 months after I graduated. So perfect timing. I went over there to be a chef, so a commis chef. I started out cooking staff dinners and then the breakfast. I worked in that hotel for about nearly 4 years. I worked my way up a little bit to chef de partie, covering all the different departments of the kitchen. At that point, my chef came to me just one day out of the blue and said, "Have you ever thought about going to live in America?" And I said, "Well, not really, but yeah, let's do it." And they arranged for me to go to the Four Seasons Boston, where I spent 18 months as a management intern trainee. So mainly in the kitchen, but I did do in-room dining, I did concierge, and a little bit of time in the front office department as well. After my visa expired there, again, lucky timing for me, they were opening what is one of the most beautiful hotels in the world, the Four Seasons in Florence. So without speaking any Italian or ever being to Italy in my life, I moved to the Four Seasons in Florence. And we opened that hotel. We won a Michelin star in the restaurant there, many other amazing awards. And I spent 2 years there. By the time I left, I could name every fruit and vegetable. I could use every swear word in Italian, but I couldn't go shopping. I couldn't. My Italian was terrible. I'm not a language person. And I've been married to a South American for the last 15 years nearly, and I don't speak much Spanish, so languages just doesn't sit with me. But then after that, I moved back to London, where I worked with Eric Chavot at the Capitol Hotel, where we had 2 Michelin stars. And I decided that time to go do a little bit of travelling outside of work. So saved up some money, and I went to the World Cup in South Africa. So did a bit of travelling out there. And I met my wife, who was moving to Australia. So we moved and lived in Australia there for 2 years, working as a chef in multiple different restaurants. Came back to London and I worked as a head chef for Tom Conrad in his restaurant, Tom's in Notting Hill. And did about a year or so there. And then I realised the chef life is very, very long hours. It's quite unsociable. Just moved my wife to London, so she didn't really know many people here. So and I wasn't spending weekends with her. So I decided time to start looking, as my wife puts it, for a normal job, like that 9 to 5 sort of.
Can I just stop you on that point? Just out of interest, how old were you at that point that you thought? Okay,
I would have been about 28, something like that.
So you'd have made a big investment in education, in like that path, and then to pivot. What was that like, that moment where you realized I need to make a change? And then how did you make the decision to?
It was a bit scary because I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I'd ever known was being in a kitchen and being a chef. So in my mind, I was thinking, what can I do? I'm a little nervous child nearly. I was 28, 29. I was still very young. So just out of coincidentally, I sort of fell into recruitment. So I was doing some temporary work as a chef, and back in the day you had to go to the agency head office to go pick up your check at the end of the week, and I went in there. They were short staffed and I was helping them out a little bit. End of the day, I've got offered a job. So started out with a small company in London doing sort of temporary recruitment for them as an agent, and then I got headhunted to go and work for Collins King and Associates, which are one of the premium hospitality headhunters and recruitment companies in the UK. I did about 5 or 6 years with them, covering the chef's desk and doing all sorts of really exciting projects. So that was my first transition, sort of going from kitchen to office and into recruitment. And then when COVID came,
just on that point, did you have to learn skills? Like, did you do a course or?
I learned a lot of it on the job, I think, because a lot of it was just about talking, knowing the jobs. I didn't really do emails beforehand, and I'm dyslexic, so my spelling is terrible. So it was all about learning how to use the spell checkers and all these different technologies, and I've never used Excel really before. Very, very basic bits in the kitchen. So I was using all these new skills was a bit of a challenge, but I settled into it quite well, because really it's just going into a kitchen, talking to a chef, putting A with B, and off we go. So I found that really exciting. I loved that company and that job. It was great. But when COVID came along, obviously the recruitment industry took a nosedive. We all went on furlough and thought the company wasn't going to reopen. So I decided I was going to retrain a little bit. So I did my CIPD level 5 in COVID. So I'd already done level 3 a couple of years before. I decided to do the level 5, and I actually did it in about 6 weeks, because I woke up every single morning in COVID. I would go for a run in the morning. I would study until lunchtime, make lunch, take the dog for a walk, and then study for another hour. And I did like a unit a week. It was crazy. Nothing else to do. So I got my qualification. Then through contacts, I was really lucky to get a job for the opening of Eataly in Liverpool Street, which is a massive, great big like Italian supermarket with restaurants and wine shops and cookery schools. So throughout the final bits of COVID, we were recruiting about 400 staff, which in COVID was the easiest thing to do, because you put a job advert online and you got about 500 applications within 10 minutes. So everyone was looking for a job. It was the easiest part of recruitment. But we opened there. I was there for 2 years and got everything set up and running. And then when it was time to find a new challenge, my current job came along, which is the Raffles Hotel in London. So it's a hugely prestigious hotel. In fact, on the 30th of October this year, we've got the world's top 50 hotels. And last year, in our first year, we came world's best new hotel and 13th in the world. So hopefully this year, touch wood, we're going to be well inside the top 10 and pushing. And this was a real challenge, because we had very limited amount of time to recruit. At the time, we had about 420 staff for the opening, and we're about 490. But we had limited time to recruit them, to train them. The building was still being renovated, so we couldn't get in the kitchens and cook anything till the last minute. Loads and loads of challenges going on there, but it was really exciting. And my sort of career at the Raffles has pivoted a little bit again, because now my role, it started out as recruitment. So I was head of recruitment, and now I'm head of people and recruitment. So I do a lot more on the HR side, a lot of learning and development. We look after apprenticeships, the training, internal development for all the staff, and plans for everybody. So it's sort of turned into, now we've recruited the staff. Now my job is to retain the staff and keep them happy.
And I think so many companies are realizing this is what needs to happen. You can't have recruitment here and learning and development over here and not connecting. So I think it's such a smart move by Raffles Hotel to give you more responsibility. And what do you see now in hospitality from the perspective of, we were chatting before, and you're doing a phenomenal job at retaining, and I know it's still early doors, but traditionally in hospitality, attrition can sometimes be as high as 85%.
Oh, yeah.
Just what are your thoughts on all of that? And if you want to share the success that you're currently having, because I think that's brilliant.
So we're doing really, really well. I mean, we're in a slightly different position to a lot of places. The fact that we are ultra luxury, we're the very top level, and people want to come and work for us. So they're not going to move as much as other hotels or restaurants may do in the sector. But I mean, our first year of operations, we finished with about 38% turnover across the whole hotel in year one, which is absolutely insanely low for the industry. It might sound really high for someone in a banking or finance sort of industry, but for us, that's half of what everyone else was doing nearly. And then this year, hopefully, will be around 35% turnover. And the whole idea of this was that from day one, we wanted to link our hotel brands with our beliefs with recruitment. So all the way through, we've been saying, the staff need to be you, be confident, be happy, and have their purpose. They are our core foundations of Raffles. And then we focus that on learning. So when we hire someone and they're being themselves and they're having their purpose, well, we need to develop that and make them grow with us. So we have, I think this year we've already had about 65 internal promotions, and we're only in early October. So it's really high. And every role we have, we advertise internally. Before we look at anyone externally, we'll ask inside the building, anyone interested who wants to move from, we've had people move from the bars into finance and in the restaurants into communication. So we've got this amazing wealth of skills within the building, and it's just about utilising them. And people will pivot, they'll try different things. Sometimes it works and they stay for good and train in that role. Sometimes they'll do 6 months and say, look, it sounded great, I've got some good knowledge, but I want to go back to the restaurant. I think it's really important that we mix that recruitment with the learning and development, so that when we hire people, they know they're not just going to be a waiter for life, that they're going to have these opportunities to really develop a career with us. And we're seeing that start to come to fruition now in year 2.
I think it's reflective in your attrition level. And I know that, okay, hospitality, maybe you're forced to think about, well, what can we do for people to retain them, to promote them? But other industries really, because of everything changing, they should do the same rather than doing redundancies or letting people go, or people walking, feeling like they're falling behind. What is it like, just out of interest, when you describe someone coming from the bar and moving into finance, when that person transitions or is at least given the opportunity? What is that like, being able to enable that for them?
It's brilliant. I sort of like a proud mother hen at that point, seeing this person that we hired for a completely different job and helping them, supporting them through. It's really amazing to see these people develop a career and follow a dream, because a lot of people, they do get into hospitality because they might be a bartender or a waiter who works at university studying finance, and then they just fell in love with the industry and don't want to leave the job because they're having so much fun. So it's great that we've got these skills and the knowledge and we just utilise it, really. Watch them grow. We do a lot of apprenticeships. So our finance person who's moved from the bar, he's now almost about to finish his apprenticeship and be fully CIMA accredited. So it's great that we can really do that for people. And that's within the first 18 months, 2 years. Imagine what we're going to do in the next 10 years.
And here's my belief on this. I think that when you invest in people in terms of their own learning path, there's a level of appreciation that you can't really put value on. But I know that some leaders feel, well, if we upskill too well, we're going to have our competitors, because they will just leave us when they can get a bigger salary. So what are your thoughts around that mindset?
I mean, yes, that is a risk, but people will move on. If you treat people right, they will stay for longer. If you don't train people, they'll move on even sooner. And training people doesn't have to cost money. It's much cheaper as a company to train someone, put them on an apprenticeship, to get them some work shadowing, than it is to rehire that position externally and pay market rate necessarily. So yes, someone could go elsewhere if we train them. If they stay, amazing. We've got someone who's loyal to the company, will probably stay twice as long as someone externally coming in. And it shows that we do it to the rest of the staff. Everybody sees this. Everybody knows the story. If that's happened to Johnny, why can't it happen to me?
And I think to acquire skills while working for Raffles during that period of time, and then be able to bring those skills with you whenever the time is right to leave, that's even valuable. That says to the marketplace that you're really investing in your people when they move.
Yeah. And I think, we have a duty to hospitality as a whole and the other hotels to keep training and developing staff. They don't just come out of university and they're ready for management. It doesn't work like that in our industry. Yeah. So we need to build it. And I think that is something that the industry has lacked over the last 10 years or so, is that training part of it, where everyone's thought, well, why should I train if they're going to leave? Fair enough, that's a great question. But it has meant that we now have a massive skill shortage. Perfect storm was with COVID and with Brexit. A lot of the hospitality industry, they went back home. They went back to Italy, France, Spain to be with family. And then Brexit came and they couldn't come back. So we lost a huge amount of skills in the UK, which has now been replaced with people who have big skills gaps because they weren't getting trained back in the day. So if we can now refill that, great. It works good for us. It helps the competitors, of course, but it also brings the level of skills in the industry up. Yeah. And it makes it a much more professional place to work.
And the educators in the space of hospitality, I know in other industries, there's this gap that's just seemingly getting wider and wider. And it's probably more around the skills to do with AI and data processing. And so what's happening in hospitality, the graduates that are coming through, have they got the skills to hit the ground running with more and more automation that's coming in?
I think they do. I think hospitality is always a little bit behind other industries in terms of using technology sometimes because we are such a people-focused industry. I mean, in terms of recruitment, I've got friends who work in banking in recruitment, and half of their job is looking after AI. We use it very sparingly here because we want that people contact. And that's not to say that we're lacking behind. It's just a very different industry where we want to be talking to people. If we're hiring someone that can type into a chat GTP, that's probably not going to work when they're talking to a sheikh. It's a very different sort of personality that we need. So it is used, but I think we don't want to overuse AI or the technologies too much. We need to keep the traditions alive still. And the students coming in, they have great ideas. I mean, now we're focusing a huge amount more on sustainability, being green, like the charity committees that we do here. I think it's just different ways of looking at things is what we're bringing in from the students.
And if you were to forecast what's going to happen within the industry of hospitality, and I know there's different tiers, you're operating in the luxury brand, but even for the middle tiers as well, what sort of forecast do you have for the industry when it comes to jobs, employment, education?
I think the perspective of hospitality is changing. So everyone before always thought hospitality, even my parents, when I got into hospitality, they thought it's a stopgap career. It's something you do for a couple of years and then you go find a job in a bank or finance or, desk job. But I think now it's starting to become much more professional. We're getting rid of that 60-hour, 70-hour working week now. Most of our staff do 40 hours. There's very little overtime. We focus on the work-life balance. It's a 24-hour operation. So yes, there is a lot more flexibility in roles. We now really don't have those screamy, shouty chefs anymore. There isn't too many Gordon Ramsays around. They still exist in some kitchens, but we try and kick that out. We almost have a zero tolerance policy on swearing in our hotel. Words do get said occasionally in the heat of the moment, but we do want to have an environment where people feel comfortable to come into. They feel like it's a proper career. They can progress. They have opportunities and they can earn just as good as us within hotels and hospitality as elsewhere. So I think that's the future, that the industry is changing. It's becoming professional. It's becoming somewhere where people want to work and want to develop a career.
And if you're leading a hotel that's sort of operating in the mid-tier in terms of luxury, I've noticed a trend in America of more and more boutique hotels being bought and being part of a larger group. But yet Europe still has a lot of boutique hotels. Do you think there's anything that owners of those hotels could do around talent and skills and development that would help them remain boutique?
It's a hard one because they're not going to have that backup of a head office of multiple hotels around the world. We're very lucky to have that. We've got Accor as our sort of parent company, and they've got 5,000 hotels. We're a massive group and we've got opportunities for people. But I've worked in smaller hotels in the past where they can't do that. And I think within that is a very different mentality for the staff because it is much more like a family. We've got 490 staff. I worked at the Capital Hotel. We probably had about 60 staff if we're lucky. And that was more of a family. You knew everybody. You were there because you wanted to be there. You wanted to be part of that team. You weren't going to let anyone down. And then the older generation in there, they would train the younger generation coming through, and it kept people in and they stayed. They were retained for a longer period of time. So I think that's really what they can do because they don't have the power of a global corporation behind them. It's more about using that smaller space. Some people like to work in a big company. Some people like that family feel of a startup, a smaller hotel, or something bespoke. So I think it's just looking after the staff and making them feel comfortable is going to be the best way they can develop them.
And from the perspective of within hospitality, another thing I was very surprised about statistic, and you can correct me if you know this better than I do, but I was shocked to be told 100 million people work in hospitality tourism around the world.
Well, in the UK, it's the third biggest employer of staff in the whole of the UK. However, it is so underlooked when it comes to schools, colleges, career paths. People don't understand how important hospitality is to the UK economy.
We do to fix that? Because you're 100% right. I mean, I think about, okay, it was a while since I was in school, but I believe even today, it's not necessarily the top 4 or 5 jobs. We know what they are. It's not there. But I come from a family who have a hotel business, and I know it's really hard work, but I know it's really rewarding. But how do we change that mindset?
at the moment, teachers and schools, they're not telling students about hospitality. It's not being promoted as a good career path to do. And same comes from parents as well. A lot of parents, they will steer their children away from it. And I did a talk about a few months ago in our local sixth form college down in Westminster. And I stood up on the stage and I said to the students, what does everyone want to do? And they're all lawyer, teacher, doctor, pharmacist, all these really high paying, powerful sounding jobs. I did a little presentation about the hotel. At the end of the presentation, they were queuing up to come and talk to me about summer internships and work experience because they're all so excited about this sort of career and no one had ever told them about it. So I think a lot of it is going to be the sales. It's going to be going out to the schools and the colleges and the sixth forms and telling them what a career they can have here. They could be work in finance with us. They could be a graphic designer in a hotel or a retail space. It is all there for them. And I think getting the word out and getting the parents on board and the teachers on board with it, that's the next big step.
It reminds me of other industries where, for example, STEM, where maybe young girls don't necessarily see a STEM career as one that will be not exciting is the wrong word, but one that they will like. And I wonder, and a lot of the work we do is around connecting skills to jobs. And we use a global skills exchange to do that. But I wonder, is it a case of showing young people, these are the skills that you have, these are the skills that you say you want to have, and these are the career paths. And by the way, the second one is in hospitality. It sounds like, because what you've described is, okay, there's a huge education piece, but that's limited by the person or your ability to travel to schools. Do you think if we put that information to the hands of younger adults and school kids, that
100%.
It's to create that demand?
Yeah, and I think now as well, they see it on TV as well, so it looks like a fun job. And I think TV's doing a really good job at this, and they make it exciting. And if they can see that it's something they can get a career in, that it's fun, you can travel the world, you can do all sorts of things. Whilst you were talking just there, I just got up, I've got some stats here on our diversity, because I know industries all around the world do suffer in terms of male to female diversity and balance. And in our leadership and exco team, we are 50-50 male to female ratio across the whole hotel. We slightly off with 43% female to 57% male. It is a very diverse, and we've got 68 nationalities with us. So in terms of a career in global, it's really diverse. The opportunities are open to anybody. It doesn't matter your level of education, your skill set. It's all about personality and stories here.
And I think another good point about joining an organization like yours, where there is a larger group, it's nearly the sky's the limit, because you can perhaps go as far as you can within this hotel, but there could be other opportunities within the group into the future. And I guess it's understanding, where do you want to go, the skills you need to get, but being an employer that invests in the skills development, I hope that will inspire other leaders listening to go, God, we should, because the cost of losing talent is tremendous.
Recruitment costs are through the roof when you look at advertising costs and then onboarding and training and having a larger recruitment team. You've already got the skills in place. We just need to keep developing those skills, and it's going to save everybody a lot of time and money in the long run.
A lot of the stuff we've been talking about is positive. I'm going to go to one negative that I've heard, and I'm interested to know is the same for this industry, but with the evolution of AI, it's so easy now for candidates to use ChatGPT to create their CV and just auto-click apply for opportunities. Yeah. I don't imagine many people do it with your brand, because you've only one shot to make a first impression. Or do they? And are you finding that you're having to screen a lot of CVs to get the high quality people through the door?
We are seeing a lot of AI generated CVs now, and I think you can tell when you read them, just because the way they're written, it doesn't necessarily fit the regular sort of CV that we're seeing. However, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. I use it all of the time. I use it when I'm posting on LinkedIn, when I'm writing job adverts. It helps improve my writing, because as I said, I'm dyslexic. I'm not an A-star student to be able to write a whole script out. I can write the basics of it, ask ChatGPT to put the nice words in there and pad it out, and then I go back and use my sort of wording in it. So I think it's just about the amount that we use it and not relying on it. So I wouldn't let ChatGPT or AI create a whole thing for me, but I would use it to enhance what I'm doing. And I think that's absolutely fine for people writing CVs, for applying. It's great. There are limits. I wouldn't want people to be using it in an interview situation and have that answer in the questions. That's just absurd. But to help create a CV and get your foot in the door, why not? We don't discriminate against people from wearing glasses, say they cheat because they're wearing glasses and they can see better. Why can't we use AI to help us spell better or write a better CV?
The sense I get from you as a leader in talent acquisition and from the brand is that it is really about the person, and you do take the time to really evaluate the person.
We have 150 to 200 CVs every single day that we look through. And a lot of the time, it's not about the CV, it's about the person behind the CV. If they're telling a story in their CV, if they've got like a flow to it and they've got excitement in there, and when we talk to them, they really care and they're genuine people, we will hire them 110% over someone who's just got experience. We want personality. We want that feel. That's more important to us than skills.
So any exciting plans for your organization for 2026? And if people do want to apply, I know you're at nearly capacity now, but where could they apply if they were interested?
Yeah, so we've got a lot coming up. So within the hotel, we don't have that many vacancies. We normally have about 10 to 15 vacancies, but they can apply on the Raffles website or our core webpage as well. But as a group, we've got some really exciting openings coming. So over the next 18 months, 2 years, we have a Raffles opening in Tokyo. There's one coming in Italy, in Lake Como. We've got one in Mexico in Los Cabos. There's many more coming. So we are really growing. And if you're coming in the industry now at an entry level or mid-level, a couple of years with us, and then you can go and work in Singapore, you can go and work in Australia. There is all these opportunities to really go internationally, just as I did when I was a young chef.
And I think I need to ask this question because I do believe that because of the redundancies that are coming, or people, you're very lucky. I'm lucky. We kind of fell in the right path, but something like 7 out of 10 people are actually not that very happy in their career paths. But say, for example, if I'm a professional listening to this today and I've been in an industry, lots of skills, but it's not hospitality, and I'm in my mid-career, but I have transferable skills, is it still worth applying? Is it still
100%? We've just hired someone to join one of our teams who has just transitioned from a job as a PA to in the banking industry, and she's going to be absolutely amazing in our guest relations department. There is no reason why not to. Your skills are transferable. It's all about whether you want to do the job. If you've got the excitement for it and the personality that's going to fit in with a luxury brand such as this, to be confident in front of guests, if that's your thing, go for it. We have half of our pastry junior team, they're all transitioned. They've all worked in other industries beforehand, and in COVID they found they liked baking and making bread and cakes and things. They went and retrained, and now they make up most of our pastry kitchen. So
brilliant.
There's no limit to it, and age doesn't really play a part. Yeah, hospitality, you have to have a genuine level of fitness because you're on your feet most of the time. We've got staff in their 70s and they're some of our best workers. We've got staff that are 17, 18. It doesn't matter your age, your ability, your background. This is where you will find your passion, working in hospitality.
I think we've done the best plug for hospitality today. Because I think about even the ageism that's happening in industries like tech, like finance. You hit a level and no one will put on the ad, no one over 50 can apply. But then you read a lot of posts about people who are over 50 saying, I'm not getting called. So I think that this has been so enlightening. Okay, I have one final question. It's a closing tradition. I actually give you the choice of answering one of 2 questions, so you can choose. Question 1, what skill do you have that you were using when you were younger that you don't use anymore but you'd like to? Or if you were starting out in hospitality, or you're thinking of transitioning in your mid-career, outside of the hard skills we've discussed, is there any other skill that you think would really help that transition or start?
I think I'll go for the second question. I think it's a bit easier to answer. I think the skill would be storytelling. So coming into hospitality, all the other skills, great, but to be able to tell a story, to be able to tell where that steak came from on the plate, to be able to talk about the wine, and to really be engaging with the guests, that is a key skill that you'd want to have. I was trying to think about the other question. What skill that I used to use that I don't use now?
That you'd like to do again, if you had the time or the desire to use it again.
I love going back in the kitchen. Christmas time, I will be in the kitchens here helping out the chefs cooking again. I have a real passion for it. So I think I would more than happily go back and be a chef again in the future. and you just utilise those skills, be part of a really close-knit family team there. It was great.
Nathan, thank you so much. I think today, for me, you've just kind of made it feel very good to look at your skills and just see how they can be leveraged in multiple ways. And even if you're lacking, well, invest in your people. That is so clear from the employer brand, Raffles, and you. And I think you're a really inspiring leader, and it's reflective in your success on attrition rates. So just thank you for taking the time to share this and being a guest.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Whether you're leading a business, shaping education, planning your next career move, or just starting out, you're part of a global conversation about how we learn, work, and grow. If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe so you never miss what's next. And for early access to new episodes, first invites to events, and a chance to connect with others driving real change, join the community at globalskillspodcast.com, because the future of skills belongs to all of us.